On this podcast, we have a very special guest. We have Jess, who is the founder, CEO of Feminine Sales Academy, a multi-seven-figure sales agency. She is helping brands all across the world get more sales by helping them staff, recruit, train their sales reps. So it's going to be a good one. Jess, for everybody watching right now, if you could actually maybe give them a 30-foot overview about yourself and a little bit of background, I think that'd be a good place to start off.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the introduction.
Yeah.
So my name is Jessica Vieira, and I have been in the business space for around 5 years now. Started off as a fitness coach back in the day, built a multiple six-figure fitness coach, and then naturally transitioned into the business, marketing, and sales industry. Found my love and passion for sales. Once upon a time, I was probably the worst salesperson ever. I clearly remember one week where I did 20 sales calls and did not close, not one person. So I turned my disadvantage into my biggest advantage, and then became really well known at teaching sales and teaching feminine communication, feminine energetics, and just teaching a different way of doing sales in the online education space. Moving forward, we've been able to make multiple seven figures. Last year, we ended up making 3 million in 1 year, launching Feminine Sales Academy, the first female-only sales agency. And now here I am today having this beautiful conversation.
I love that. And I actually was in the exact same position where I was extremely introverted, and I was an athlete growing up. So I was very introverted, and my weakness was communication. And I had one best friend, and I ended up getting into an accident where I was in crutches for a year and had surgery. And basically I had to change my identity. And I thought about, all right, I wanted to do business, but I need to learn how to talk to people. So I jumped into sales. And that was my plan. So on your end, when you were first getting started, you seemed very, outgoing and, energetic, right? Were you more extroverted, but just the part of doing sales? Like, what was the part that was difficult for you when you were just getting into it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm actually a huge introvert. Okay. I know it doesn't come across like that, but I'm like the weird, awkward friend.
Yeah.
So really, I actually, my first career was nursing. So I was a nurse for 7 years. So doing that and building my way up like the nursing ladder, I ended up specializing in anesthetics. And obviously in nursing, you don't get taught anything about business. You don't get taught anything about sales. So I think when I went into my fitness business, because I was doing bodybuilding at the time, I didn't have that skill set at all. Like, I knew how to communicate with people and I knew how to build relationships, and I was really good at that, but I did not know the sales aspect. So learning online sales was like a completely different thing for me, like understanding how to ask a series of questions, how to get someone to open up about like their challenges, their problems, and like their desires and what they want to achieve in their life. Like, that was something that I had no idea about. So I was like really horrible at it.
And so you were in the medical field and then you transitioned. Was it out of necessity, or is it something where you just realized, hey, that wasn't going to lead you to the life you really wanted?
Yeah. So I think like it was back in 2014 where my mom was like bankrupt. My dad left, and I was watching like our own personal family kind of like crumble financially. And I had made like a lot of bad decisions with credit cards, loans. Like, I didn't know the value of the dollar. No, like, I didn't know how to manage money or anything. Like, I was building a good career, but financially like completely unstable. And when I started bodybuilding and I got my first coach, I was kind of like exposed to this whole coaching industry. And this was back in 2014 when the coaching industry really wasn't that much. Yeah. And I remember like people saying that they could make $5,000 a month coaching. And I was like, well, that's cool. That sounds amazing. And then that's when I had a partner at the time saying that you could make $1 million as a coach. And I was like, well, that's cool too. So at that point, I remember saying to my mom, like, I was like, Mom, I'm going to make $1 million one day. And she's like turned around to me like any other mom. And she's like, I know you will, darling. And she didn't believe me, but I just knew that it was going to happen eventually, but I couldn't explain it. It took me a few years to go and like have enough courage to leave my nursing career. And at the time, I was just going through a lot personally. I lost my grandfather. I was taking care of my father full time, and he was sick. And I was like, I was in $50,000 of bad debt. Like
Mm-hmm.
I had maxed out credit cards, maxed out loans, consolidated debt,
Wow.
and no bank would help me. And I was like, my nursing career, getting paid like $550 a week, was not going to
Wow.
get me out of that debt. Just was not. And in order for me to get a pay rise, it was going to take me years to really earn six figures. So at the time, I still had that seed planted in my head. Like there are other ways to make more money and to actually still do what you love. So fitness was like the first kind of step for me because I already was a nurse. I already knew enough about nutrition and training, and I got my certificates in order to program. And that was kind of like the no-brainer first step for me into the online industry. And at the start, like I wasn't doing very well. I did the typical like PT thing where you charge like online coaching was like $20 for a program. And we all know that wasn't going to get me out of debt. So eventually, once I built up the skill set, I ended up building a multiple six-figure fitness business, and it kind of just snowballed from there.
That's interesting. And then when you were trying, you said there was a few years where you're trying to figure out, how to transition, right? Did you wait until your income, from your online business, surpassed what you were doing? Or when was that point where you're like, okay, I feel good about actually transitioning? Because that's a question a lot of people ask, and it truly is unique depending on where the person's at, right? So where were you at when you were actually, the moment came where, hey, I'm going to transition?
Yeah. Well, first I went and got a job outside of nursing.
Okay.
So I didn't completely quit. The first thing to me, I was like, okay, I don't know how to run a business, so I need to learn. That's the first thing. So if I don't know how to do it, then I need to go and get a manager's job. So I went into like supplement distribution, and then I was managing supplement stores. And then from there, UFC Gym Australia hired me to open up one of their gyms and build all of their coaches. I had no experience whatsoever. I have no idea how I got the job. Apparently, I'm just good at networking.
Okay.
So I got presented that job, and I had an amazing director of fitness that taught me how to build coaches' businesses and how to hire a team, how to do like pre-sales, how to do all these things. So I kind of got taught these skills that I knew would be transferable to my online business. So as he was teaching me all these things, I was like, okay, I can apply this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. At the time, I was like just an influencer and I was making no money whatsoever. I had like 40,000 followers, didn't make a cent. But everything that he was teaching me, I was like applying. So as I was building this gym, doing their pre-sales, doing everything, launching and building the network and everything, I was slowly building my own client base on the side. So then when it came to the point of needing to leave, because I was getting paid like nothing to do that job, I basically was able to leave and then go and start my own online business by myself.
Interesting. So the real skill sets that you picked up from that were team management, some just operations, basic operations of how a business flows and running a team. And you also, on the back end, you grew a following. So you were also developing, or you had the skill to, make social media content as well.
Yeah. I was just sharing my journey for so long, like doing shows, and I naturally built an audience, but I built an audience of like raving fans. That was just, I was just an influencer. Like I was not getting paid for anything at all. I just had a group of people.
Okay, I see. And then so for anybody watching, the reason I'm asking is this: I think that we'll talk about tactics here in a bit of things you're doing now that are working. But for me, I think it's always interesting to connect the dots. And like, I'll just say this, for example, with the past guest that I had on, he went and learn sales, marketing, then operations. You learned operations from, this management deal. You were doing social media, which I'm guessing maybe you improved that a little bit, and we could talk about that. When you transitioned to fully doing the online coaching thing with fitness, were most of your clients from social media?
Yeah. So I worked in as a PT
Mm,
inside of a gym for a little
mm,
bit, and then that's when I invested into like my first mastermind.
mm,
Because like I knew that if I wanted to build an online business, that I needed to invest, and I had other friends doing it, and they were like doing paid advertising and all of this
mm,
stuff. So that was really like my first step. I ended up using tax money just to pay for that.
mm,
And because I was still heavily in debt at this time.
yeah.
So I ended up using that, and that's where I started learning paid ads. But something you said before about like um, learning operations beforehand, I feel like that there's a lot of people in like out in the world that want to build an online business, and they don't realize like how much their corporate experience or like how much their experience in their job actually can help them build an online business. Like I
Mm,
work with so many people, and it's like the dots don't click that they have transferable leadership skills that are so like beneficial for an online business. Because I do think that it was the UFC opportunity that gave me so much confidence and so much skill set in my ability to do it on my own.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. And for me, I kind of looked at like, so when I was thinking about starting a business, which I knew
Mhm.
that when I left school, I was going to start a business. So I thought about what skill sets can I acquire and how could I get
Mhm.
paid while acquiring the skill set? So I was like, man, I suck at sales. And I was like, all right, cool. So if I want to get good at sales, what if I just work for a sales training company? That was my idea. So
So
I went straight into it. I'm like, all right, let's go to the, go to the top, which back then I was the fifth person in Grant's office. So it was really
mhm,
a small operation. But point being is that was the first thing I did. The second thing
mhm,
I did once I felt good about sales was, okay, I need to learn to market. So then I started a marketing agency. I partnered with the guy that had a marketing agency and I built the sales team for him. And then through
so
that experience, I learned about marketing. And then the
mhm,
one that really took me probably the longest to learn was operations, building an org board, having SOPs,
mhm,
systems, making onboarding checklists, like all of those things that people do get from corporate. But because
mhm.
I didn't go to the traditional route, I didn't have that. So my
Yeah.
business suffered. And I was basically, I was the rainmaker that could bring in cash, but I didn't have a business where if I wasn't rainmaking, the business wasn't necessarily printing without me, right? So I do agree with you 100% for people that have that as a background.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest tips too. Like if you are going through the motions of working right now, at least do something that's going to give you a skill set that you can plug into your ideal scene in the next, whatever it is, 2, 3, 5 years or whatnot. But I think that's huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. I really agree.
So let's talk about that then. When you did your fitness online coaching business, how were you getting clients back then? Was it with paid ads? Was it organic? Was it both?
Yeah. It was both. So I learned how to like transition, obviously, from the influencer status to like actually making
Mm,
sales,
mm,
and how to sell. But I actually learned paid ads. So I invested into a mentor. I think I did like a 5K accelerator, like paid
mm,
ads program, and set up my funnel, set up my automation, all the rest, and launched. So that was my real big exposure to the online space. I ended up running my own ads and making sales organically, and did really well. Like I built like a multiple six-figure fitness business, and
mm,
then COVID hit. And that's kind of what led me into this business now.
mm,
At the time, I had the fitness business, I was doing a podcast, and I was running like women's mental health events.
mm.
And people just knew me for the events and the purpose of why I was doing things. And that kind of just funneled into this business mentoring business.
Mm.
And then that was kind of like the start there.
So let's talk about that. Like with that idea, was it something that was kind of brewing in your head for a while, or was it just like, man, I got somebody that's asking me for help with this and they want to pay me? Like, how did you actually, what was the
Yeah.
process to actually be like, all right, I'm doing this?
Oh my gosh. It was the most scariest thing ever. So, like, COVID hit.
Mm,
And obviously, like everyone's businesses start like going downhill, and
mm,
I was losing clients because I had a lot of corporate clients. I had heaps of clients, and I was like, "Oh my god, like what am I going to do?"
mm,
And a lot of people would tell me that I was good at marketing and that I should do business coaching, but I didn't think I had enough skill set. Like I was still like a little chicken nugget in the online
mm,
coaching industry, and I didn't really have the confidence to do it. And then basically I just seen the opportunity. People started reaching out to me and they're like, Jess, how do I move my business online? Like, what do I do? Can you show me what to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to really sit and have a look at like what is going to happen over the next year. And it was pretty confronting because I was watching like myself lose a lot of clients, but I also could retain a lot of clients and enough to get through COVID. Like I didn't close down my fitness business until like September 2023.
Mm-hmm.
2020, sorry. And I was like, okay, this is a time to innovate. And I seen COVID as probably one of the biggest opportunities for my life. And I'm like, well, if we're going to do anything, may as well do it now.
Yeah.
So I ended up holding like a free collaborative workshop, and I got like 10 people to come and talk, and we had hundreds of people register
Oh, wow.
and come and attend. And we just gave heaps of free value.
Mm-hmm.
Off the back end of that, I ended up holding a 3-hour webinar just for myself teaching social media. And I ended up making $24,000 in like a week because people wanted to hire me just so that I could help them build an online business in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of moved from there. That year was probably my biggest year of growth. We went from like what felt like $0 to like 500K in 6 months.
Wow.
And it was just like an insane year.
In that event, was it something where you just through promoting it through social media, or did you run ads for that event?
No, I did it all off of Instagram. Like every single day, I was like posting on my stories. I was selling. I was doing back-to-back launches because it had blown up so quickly. I was like, this is the biggest opportunity of my life. Like I was still so heavily in debt, and I was like, I'm going to ride this wave and I'm just going to see how far I can take it. And I knew like back in that 2014 when I had said to my mom, like, I'm going to make $1 million. Like, I just knew that was it. I 100% knew. I'm like, people are paying me the most insane amounts. Like I went from charging $3,000 to then $5,000, $10,000, $12,000, $20,000. And people just kept investing and it just kept snowballing. So I just rode the wave.
And with that, it was a free event or paid event?
It was a free event to start with. Yeah.
To start.
Yeah.
And then you had the upsell where they actually attended the webinar. Is that right?
Yeah. So from there, I just pitched private coaching and people were like, yeah, I'm in.
What did you charge for the webinar?
Nothing.
Oh, nothing. It was just free. It was free. Yeah.
I didn't charge anything. It was like, there was like 80 women.
We're doing an event in Miami, and we have one in Vegas this month.
Yeah.
And we're doing free for day one. And then there's a day two, which we're going to charge. It's just a few $100. And then we're basically going to show them what we do, how we do it. And then if they want us to help implement, they can hire us on day two to do that. So that's kind of how we set up ours. So yeah. Cool.
Pretty much like what I did.
Huh?
That's pretty much like what I did. Yeah. I just showed
basically. So when you first started off, it was more general consulting and coaching and social media. And then when did you find like your lane where it's like, we're doing feminine sales, right? I'm creating a movement, right? Was that a year in business or how did that come up?
Yeah. So it really only came up moving into the end of 2022. Was doing well with the just business. I was teaching Instagram and I was doing really well. And then I noticed like the market was shifting a lot. Like, I don't know if you noticed it, but like, the rise in entrepreneurship, the rise in business coaches, like I definitely noticed that there was a really big influx of people in the space and the economy was turning at the same time. So I really was like, okay, there needs to be a bigger gap. What worked in 2020 was still working, but it wasn't like things were shifting. It was getting harder to sell. People were looking for more value. It was getting harder to stand out on social media because social media was changing so much. And I also was like, I realized that there was a gap with my clients. Like I was able to scale my clients, but then when they needed a sales team, I could only help them so far, and there was no one servicing women for like setters and closers. So I was like,
true.
Okay,
like I don't know if I know anybody really doing that, honestly.
There's some underground like women that will help do
actually. Yeah.
yeah, they've seen a few that do like recruiting and help like with their clients, but not like the full agency side. Not that I know of yet. I could be
Yeah.
completely wrong. Um, and that's where I was like, I realized I was so good at sales, and people were like, Jess, you're just so good at it. Like everyone used to hire me because I was good at sales. So then that's when I was like, well, how can we rebrand? What can we do? And that's where I created like the trifecta of energetics, communication, and high ticket sales. And then I just started talking about it, launched Feminine Sales Academy as a membership. Then that went into like the sales agency. I'm like, screw it, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. One of my mentors was Cole Gordon for such a long time, for about like 3 years. And I was like, you know what? Like, there's so many men in here. I was like the only like, there is so many men. I'm like, I'm going to start the female division. I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm starting the female version. I'm going to create female setters and closers. I can't find them anywhere. I'm going to find these women and I'm going to train them up. I'm going to place them and I'm going to ramp sales teams. I'm doing it.
Love that.
And I'll never forget it. They were like, good luck.
Yeah.
Like, and looking back on hindsight, yes, I needed a lot of good luck last year, but I'm so grateful that I started it because like it was really a big gap in the industry.
So I do think your thought process to find it and then kind of see the market shifting. And that is the thing with coaching and consulting is, I mean, here's the cycle. Like you have someone that finds a unique mechanism that works to get clients. They teach it to 100 people that are coaches and consultants. They teach it to 1,000 other people. And now that mechanism that worked is no longer really working at the same level. You could still get it to work. Don't get me wrong. Like, for example, a lot of people, I mean, at least that I've met, a lot of people have a resistance against paid ads. But the people that I know of that do north of $1 million a month, or some of our clients that do, you know, a couple $100,000 in a week in sales, they use paid ads, right? But point being is, there's like the new shiny mechanism, and it eventually gets saturated, and you kind of pivoted and found a gap to serve the market in a place where it was needed, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, you're so right. You're so right.
Yeah, that's the thing that is I mean, it's like one of the downsides if you're coaching coaches, they coach coaches. But yeah, it's one of the downsides, I guess. But even with that, there's always a way for you to kind of like make your unique approach. And if you could break that down for me, because I heard you say the words, but energetics and the trifecta, like they sound cool, but I don't know what those mean.
Yeah. So, and yeah, you're so right. I think about the unique mechanism. I think that was the biggest thing that I was missing, to be honest. And I knew I was good at business coaching, but I wasn't really owning what I was really good at, which really was the sales part, the marketing part. So when I created Feminine Sales Academy, I'm like, okay, what is Feminine Sales Academy? Like, because it's not just the sales agency, it's also all the work that I do with women. And when I look at Feminine Sales Academy, it's like there's two parts to it. There's like the trifecta of sales, high ticket sales, communication. And I teach all my clients like feminine communication. Like every single script that I've ever gotten from a male, I've had to womanize it. So like
I would love to, see what that looks like, but okay.
And it's like this thing where like, Jess, can you womanize this? Like I have men that work for me and they'll like write something out and they're like, Jess, can you?
So this would probably not be a line that would be in your script. So aside from the money, you know, if this made sense, are you good to move forward today? That's not that's not in the script. A guy wrote that.
So we have a whole different way of like how we communicate on sales calls. Like sometimes like something said, I'm like, I would never say that. I would never say that, because it's so triggering for women. Like women selling to women is so different. Men selling to women is so different. Women selling to men is completely different. Like I've seen women sell to men in a very masculine way where they're trying to like boss a man around. It's like, that is not going to close a deal. It's not. Like a woman has to be completely in her feminine for that to even happen.
Okay.
So
I
where
don't mean
we
to cut you off. So you have feminine
yeah,
communication, you have the
yeah,
actual, skill set and the
yeah.
process of sales, and the third one is,
Yes.
you said, energetics, right?
And the energetics part, yes, which is teaching women how to be in their feminine while selling.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do a lot of like work with all my clients on like how do women run like a multiple six or multiple seven figure business, but also have balanced energies, which I think is something that I had to learn the hard way and had to figure out, well, I'm like running this multiple seven figure business now, but how do I remain in my feminine? How do I put that CEO hat on, but at
Mm-hmm.
the same time remain balanced in my energies? So that's kind of what Feminine Sales Academy is kind of like the boss. It's
Mm-hmm.
the masculine, it's the feminine, and then it's like the dark feminine side of you. So that's what it is.
And that's and the way that you kind of had your unique mechanism, right, where you're teaching these things that it's kind of difficult for someone to just find that in the marketplace, right? The thing that I
Mm-hmm.
also like about that is you brought in the energetic side, which alone is a movement on its end that people they
Mm-hmm.
gravitate towards and they're attracted to that. So I
Yeah,
really do like the way you frame that. And you said there was two sides. That was one side and there was another side as well, or
yeah.
okay.
It's really, yeah, sorry to confuse you, but yeah, it's the helping women understand like their energies
Mm,
basically. Like I kind of said, it's like the feminine, the masculine, and then like the dark feminine. How do you integrate that into your business and into sales
mm-hmm.
in a way that helps you build a sustainable business
Yeah.
that has, well, women having longevity in business without like burning out or like,
Mm-hmm.
going the opposite way. So yeah.
I love that because with any sales rep, and for me, like one thing that I had to practice to be able to like, I got
Mhm,
into, so I haven't received a paycheck from somebody as an employee in a decade now.
mhm,
So for me to do this for that long, I did pick up, doing breath work and understanding and picking up. I think the craziest thing where people are like, dude, what'd you do? Like I did hire a semen retention coach at one point, and I
what?
read, a semen retention coach. People are like, dude, what do you
Oh,
do?
I've
Yeah.
heard of this. I have. Apparently, it's really
I
healthy.
it is. So in the book Think and Grow Rich, she talks about sexual transmutation and being able to use your sexual energy to,
Mhm,
work and create,
mhm,
right? But the
mhm,
thing that a lot of people do, and there's a movement called NoFap, which is where you don't, take care of
mhm,
yourself. Um, but there's another level where you actually learn
mhm,
to like harness that energy and move it throughout your body. And the way that I was taught to do it was with breath work. But point
yeah,
being is, for someone to be in sales or be in business for a long time, they do have to master their energy. You have to be able to do that and be able to realign yourself and make it so that every day is a new day, and every
yeah, yeah.
every like I'll put it, so I just got done, we have a lot of sales reps, so like we have 100 sales reps across all our different companies, and
Mhm,
half of what we do is personal development, the other half is sales. And when I say personal development, it is teaching these guys about having a morning routine, how to go and like when you end work, what's the routine
mhm.
that you do so that you can be refreshed and start the new day as a new day. And it is a lot of coaching outside of just sales.
I
So I
love
love
that.
that you brought that into your program.
Yeah, and I love that. Like on the women's side, it can be so different. Like for us, it's emotions,
Mm-hmm.
it's the feelings. And I think that that's where our energy will go up and down so much. So one of the biggest things is teaching women like how to manage their emotions, because like a woman's emotion has so much power to like cripple an entire company if it really can. Like I
Wow.
have seen it, even with
Yeah.
myself, like the the anger sometimes, the passive aggressiveness, the
Yeah.
frustration, it's just normal for women. Like it's very hard for us to like build and scale businesses when we are very emotional human beings. Like we're women.
So
So teaching that is like so important for me, because I do believe that women can do this. I do believe that even sales reps, like I do believe sales reps can do really, really well as women, but it's also just learning how to control your emotions and your feelings at the same time.
one of the best reps that I've worked with over the last 3 years, she was phenomenal. She was a go-getter. She was up early. She was doing her morning routines. She was
Yeah.
really good at persuasion. I would just say persuasion.
Mm-hmm.
But the emotional side, it would be something where she did step into her masculine side. I would say that I'm not an expert in that, but I would just say that she would
Yeah.
try to bulldoze people on the team too. Like, look, like I had a setter that is a guy, and the guy's like near crying.
Yeah.
I'm like, what happened? He's like, she told me if I keep performing like this, I won't be around much longer. I'm like, dude, I'm like, I mean, in my head, I'm like, she's kind of right, but she was she was a tank. But what happened is I recruited another guy from another company, and he was a sales director at a company that was doing $1 million a month, and he was like very alpha. And when both of them were in the same Zoom room, it's virtual, was just chaos, and it didn't last. But point being though is she was amazing, and I've seen, like, she was the top performer. Which that's probably an extreme example. I don't think most women are maybe like that. I don't know.
Normal. It's
normal.
Like it's like I have been that person.
Okay. You're like, yeah, that sounds like me. Like, okay.
I'm trying not to laugh. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Honestly, like, that's why I'm so passionate about it. Like, when I got to 7 figures, I had it. The team that got me to 7 figures was not the team that went further. Once I got to 7 figures, everyone left me. And it was because of my emotions. It was because of my reactions. It was because I didn't know how to like control myself. And I'll never forget it. Like, I had a staff member that was like, Jess, you are a wrecking ball. And that was so confronting as it was, like being called a wrecking ball. Like, that is so confronting. Yeah. But you realize that it's like the staff may not be the problem. The problem could be the business owner.
Sure.
And I think that was one of my biggest lessons. And then that's when I started going down this whole, like, okay, I need to look at my emotions. I need to look at, like, how do I react when something happens? How do I speak to my staff? How do I transition my leadership style from being so transactional to being like more of a transformational like leadership? How do I balance my energies? And that was a really, really big like season of me learning. I think I went through like a whole year of learning how to integrate my feminine and how to connect to my feminine and how to actually use that in my business and just in my entire life, where I was just operating so like manly, to say.
We call it on our sales team as I call it, we have a terminator, and the terminator is the guy that gets production, and he does the hard conversations and the dirty work. And you could have different types of terminators. Like, for example, the person that I referenced before, he was actually a young guy, extremely talented at sales, like just raw talent and horsepower. He was also an athlete, 6'5", like, dude, the guy could close deals. Like, he's probably closed more than $5 million. Like, and he was 21. Like, he was really, really raw, but he was a terminator, but he wasn't seasoned. So what I mean by that though is, like, I have another guy that works with us now, and he's actually worked with me for a decade, and he's now working on this specific team that I'm talking about. He has been working with me for a decade. We would call him the Terminator back in the day. Like, he was the guy where I had my office set up. There's the office manager, and he would run the reps, and people would cry. Like, it was intense conversations, but he was making things happen and deals were getting pushed forward, and it was very intense. Point being though is that was when he was young. Now he's more seasoned, and basically he's able to communicate and ask questions and figure out what they're experiencing. And at the same time, he will confront people on their stats and their numbers and why they're not hitting, KPIs. But point being is that kind of where you felt you were at. You were maybe weren't as seasoned with the team, but you kind of evolved, I guess.
Yeah, I think I was good at the strategy stuff. Like, I was really good at strategy stuff. Probably, I still had a lot to learn. I still feel like I have heaps to learn now. I think it was more so just the emotional side of things of like, it's like, if we look at like the patriarch of women, like, we are designed to be women, like to not work X amount of hours, not work really, really long hours. Our feminine energy can't doesn't have like the stamina, not that feminine energy has stamina, doesn't have that to go the distance.
Sure.
So like what happens like energetically for women, I don't think it has to do with a skill set thing. Like skill set, you can learn a skill set, you can make money from skill set, you can be very, very intelligent, and you can learn what you need to learn. I think it's more so like it's the imbalance between like pushing really hard and working long hours in a significant amount of masculine energy, which is required. And at that time I was working like 16, 17 hour days
that's what
just
it
to
took
build
to get your business going, probably. Like,
I'm not the person that will lie. Like I built a business working 7 days a week, like multiple long hours. And unfortunately, the consequence of doing that is being very hyper masculine. You are like, it's so hard to balance that. Like us as women, like it's a sacrifice. It's like, if you want to have a multiple 7-figure business, that is the consequence of being pushed into that energy and potentially being very, very masculine led. But there are certain things that women can do in order to balance energies, but a lot of that is going to come down to self-awareness. Not a lot of women are ready for that conversation, because a lot of it's like, what I have found to realize is like, a lot of it can be a trauma response. It's like, why do you want to make multiple 7 figures? Why not just have a man provide for you and take care of you? Like, why do you want to have all this money? So it kind of unravels a lot of that sitting underneath the surface of like suppression of femininity. So this journey of like trying to balance energies, like it's so much deeper than just like being a business owner.
Yeah. And I feel like that's, I totally get it. And I agree with you, especially with sales, like who you are as a person will show through your sales calls. Like if you do not have control and discipline in your life, it's going to be very difficult for you to control a conversation and guide someone to have discipline in their life. It's going to be a reflection. So
I agree. Yeah.
So with that, let's transition kind of like this next topic, which is let's talk about tactics and, what's working well for you. With that being said, what's your core offer right now? The main thing that you're offering to the marketplace, or do you kind of have somebody come in and, you have multiple core offers, or is there one place you're driving them for the most part if they're brand new?
Yes. So Feminine Sales Academy is like a multiple tiered offer suite. So really what we do is we implement our done for you funnels into a business model. So I only teach like 3 different funnels. And then from there, we're either scaling with ads or we're trying to grow organically. And then the main part is vetting and placing setters and closers into our clients' businesses, and then replacing women from doing their sales full time and then ramping those sales teams. That's really the main thing that we do.
So the main structure is people come in and what is it, a 15K program or 20K?
Yeah. It's anywhere from 7-15 up to 32,000.
Okay. We kind of do something similar, but basically you'll help them build out their infrastructure to get leads and appointments. You'll place people with them. And then once they love that, you basically will come on the back end and say, hey, do you want our help managing? And they could pay a retainer and rev share or whatnot. Is that kind of the deal?
We have to look into that. I wasn't managing people's sales teams before because it's like, obviously you would know, it's like such a big thing to manage people's entire company.
We don't do that on our end. But do you guys, I guess on the back end, is there a retainer for them to keep you as an agency?
Yeah, we do now. We one thing that I realized last year is how willing women are to say like, just manage it. Like women really want to be in their creativeness, and they want to be in like they just want to be the teachers, the thought leaders, the speakers, like that's their thing. So we did launch like a sales management side, and all of our clients like, just we'll give it to you. And that was something really interesting because like that the female market, like that's what they want now.
How does that, because I'm going to tell you my experience with it, which I've done strategic partnerships, right?
Yeah.
And we'll do rev share. Typically what that looks like is, one, we've worked with big personalities that have a few million followers We literally
Mm-hmm.
help them build out their offer stack. And then we basically do a high rev share on the production. We're basically managing it. They're the face on the front end. And I've
Yeah.
also done strategic partnerships that are more like with my current partner, Dylan now. Dylan was doing, in this specific business that I came on with, he was doing, 100, 200K a month. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I said, hey, I can help you with your sales team. And I basically, helped consult him. We built it. And then I did have rev share on, his entire deal. And then once
Mm-hmm.
we hit 100, 200K a week,
Mm-hmm.
that's where he brought me in as a partner on that deal. And then I've done it that way, but at scale.
Mm-hmm.
My brother runs my old company, which is a sales training company. And they tried to, and I say they because he's the CEO. He literally, he's the guy. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing that was trying to do placement with rev share. But the problem is these people didn't always have the funnels and infrastructure, so it didn't make sense. The setters and closers weren't in a place where they had appointments or lead flow. But aside from
Mm-hmm.
that, managing different sales teams was a headache. I do know people like, I don't know what Cole's exact model is, but like Dan Henry's managing sales teams right now. He charges a flat retainer rate
Yeah.
and then plus rev share. So do you find that is a model you like, or you guys are just more of testing it out right now?
We're testing it out right now. Like I don't know how I feel about going down the pathway of like rev shares at this minute. Obviously the complexities of all of it. But we do charge like a retainer fee, and then we own the reps. So one thing that I did notice is like how much the reps build a relationship with us and how hands off the business owners want to be.
Sure.
Which is just something that I've noticed. I know with men, it might be a little bit different. Like men are a bit more like, get me in there, like alphas, like they're happy to go through numbers. Our clients, the ladies, they're not that they don't love numbers that much. So they would prefer to pay us a higher retainer fee for us to manage it and just do it all for them, go through the numbers. It does leave a big responsibility for marketing. Like you said, like there is a huge, like I have very clear criterias and an expectation of my clients around like their marketing, their ad spend, what they need to produce, what they need to have in place. And they're very, very clear on the things that I want to have in place in order for us to continue managing their teams.
Well, the nice thing about what you're doing too is they did ascend from working with you, right? So they have a foundation, right? You're not necessarily just taking people on right away and, doing
No,
that,
no,
right?
no way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because it's for me, like integrity is such a big thing. Like I won't take on a client for sales management unless I truly think that it's going to be beneficial for both parties, because otherwise they may as well start in a mastermind, start off there, get your systems in place, get your funnels going, get your ads going, all the rest, and then get to a certain level. And then afterwards we can talk about it if that's where you get to.
Yeah.
And that makes sense for me.
Yeah, that's kind of what we like. So we do have a pretty good, just staffing, recruiting, just all together. And these aren't necessarily people like, do the people that you're staffing, do they buy your sales training and then they get placed, or no? Or it's from, yeah.
Because we do marketing and sales, most of them are coming in both. So they're like aware, they're like, I need to get this in place. And then they know, okay, we've got to get to 100 book calls or 60 book calls in order to get a full-time closer. There's like, we're pretty transparent with what they need. So they're aware of what they're coming in for.
Got it. I think what I was asking is because like for us, like I've done one-off staffing deals for one company that was doing 1.3 million a month. And it was pretty, like they had a proven system. They've been around for, 3 years. They've been doing $1 million a month. So that was a one-off deal where they just wanted reps and they wanted some consulting, but it was just staffing. I didn't build their marketing funnels, none of that. It was just a one-off deal. And I've had some instances like that pop up where I will just staff reps for people, but I don't know the part about managing it, because do you give them like a quota or a guarantee on the reps, or is it pretty cut and dry? Hey, we're going to place the rep with you. It's up to you to like, it's still on your shoulder for revenue, or is there a guarantee that you put in play?
We have like very clear I would say, like I say, like this is based off like everything that you've got going on, like of their marketing and stuff. And then we set the KPIs in order for them to have the rep. And they may not have the rep full time, like being like upfront and honest. Like if they only have like 50 calls on the calendar, but they're slowly ramping up, it's like, okay, well, this is the expectation. The rep is only going to be with you for X amount of hours, for example, until we get to that point. So for me, I think like my own experience in the industry, like there was a lot of things that I wish things were explained to me, and I probably would have made a lot of better decisions.
Sure.
So one thing that I'm like always trying to do is like educate my clients on like, this is the industry. This is what's standard. Like I care about reps. Like I genuinely care about them and their income. Like they have a livelihood. So I'm like, they need X amount of calls in order to pay their bills, feed their family, survive. Like, and I'm very honest about it. I'm like, this is what you need to get to. This is what we need to put in place. This is all how your ads need to go. Your funnel needs to change. This is everything that needs to shift in order to have like a rep full time. And then it's just like monitoring KPIs from there each month.
So that is good.
Yeah.
You have basically like a book, I call them auto books, but just a booked calendar, right? Where the client needs to be at 60 a month or whatever the number is. Okay, I see.
100%.
Do you like to use setters as well, or you'll only do that as like once the person's scaled up, or how do you feel about setters and closers?
I love setters. They're the best. Well, like most of my clients are Instagram, are like women. So I have like heaps of clients that have viral Instagram accounts. So we'll put like DM setters in their account, 1 or 2, and then we just train them up to do DM closes or booking sales calls. Normally we'll place setters before we place like closers. I've found like business owners are still happy to do some of their closing for a bit, and it's much easier.
And for the and so here's kind of like where we're gonna head next. So I want to talk about guarantees and how you feel about the marketplace and the crazy guarantees. You know what I'm talking about? I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about just some basic, marketing strategies and, just what we're doing that's working and then what you're doing. And then I do also want to clarify one more thing. So like when you're getting the reps, do they go through your sales training program and then you place them? Is that part of the deal? Or are these people that are just like, out and about?
Yeah, they are trained by us. Them otherwise, like with women, it's a matter of like finding these women. So most women are like on other offers and they'll come into our pipeline. Most of them reach out to us. They'll come over to us and go into our pipeline. And then they're like waiting for the right opportunity to change. That's one thing that I noticed about the industry. There's a lot of men. Finding women is like, you got to go and find these women. Like my entire sales team, I had to go and find them. They knew of me, but it was like I had to go and find them because they're already on good offers.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not necessarily like, because the reason why I'm asking is because, so like, for example, with Cole, he has his sales training that he's selling as its own offer. And then he has the B2B side. Do you kind of run it the same way where you're selling the sales training? You're just like, hey, I'm going to give it to you. And I have people that want to work with someone that's trained.
I have the sales school. I run it in seasons, but not like a full-time thing.
Sure. Okay. I see. Yeah. I think that's kind of something where I do have one community that I run. It has a little over 7,000 reps. Yeah. There's nothing being sold there though. It's just job opportunities. And it's just a value add group, really. But we will recruit from there on our end as well. But okay, cool. So with the guarantee, all right. So this is what, like in the marketplace, like I've seen the market when there was no guarantees. I've seen the market where, dude, guys are saying guarantees. I'm just like, dude, how can he guarantee that? Like, I just don't even understand. And then eventually, I did a little research and I do see how they're implementing guarantees with like certain actions and KPIs. So what are your thoughts on the guarantees and, how do you feel about those?
I don't do them. I really don't. I don't encourage my team to sell on them at all. It's not something that I believe in. I don't like it at all. Yeah. No, I'm not for it. I'm not for it. I don't think that you can guarantee results. There's so many variables. Like I can't control what's going to happen to my client or what's going to happen in their personal life or whatever. No, I don't put them in.
So I was a hard no on guarantees as well. And I say it
Yeah.
was because I am looking at the marketplace and I'm seeing, people's agreements, and what I'm seeing now that's becoming more popular is a performance-based guarantee with XYZ KPIs in action. And
Yeah.
we did roll out a test. This was like 2 weeks ago where we did roll out a test, and the person has to do XYZ, which
Mm-hmm.
they have to do 80 recorded sales calls. It's things that are reasonable. Like if they did it, they would get deals. But at the same time, I also know like it does come down to the person. And
Mm-hmm.
what I found though, what was difficult for me though, is because a
Mm-hmm.
year, 2 years, 3 years ago, there's more people that are entering this high ticket space, which is kind of a
Yeah.
new space. And when we bring reps on, we have like no guarantees. We can guarantee the deliverables, and we're going to give you what is on the agreement. But in terms of how much money you make, like, it's just like, that's
Yeah.
on you. But point being though, is a lot of reps were trained to only sell with guarantees, is what I was finding. Like, dude, what's the guarantee? What's the,
Yeah.
what's the thing, the crutch that I can lean on,
Mm-hmm.
versus just confronting what's really happening on the call when someone's asking for a guarantee, which is, if the money is okay and the process works good, it is
Mm-hmm.
it's self-belief and it's doubt. So, just handling that. But did you
Yeah.
ever consider maybe looking into it, or you're just like, nah, I don't think we need it? Like,
I
no.
just no. It just sits so uneasy. Like I've rejected clients for wanting a guarantee
Mm-hmm.
because, like, to me, I'm like, okay, what kind of leaks is this going to create? Like, I have to
Sure.
like bribe you on a guarantee for you to
Yeah.
potentially like work together, and I just it just doesn't feel right for me. I've never used them. I have never out my entire coaching career, I've never sold anyone on a guarantee, and it's
Yeah.
just never felt right for me. I think with my reps, like you said, it's like getting to what is the uncertainty, like what is the person uncertain about? Is it the pathway? Is it financial? Like what is the underlying objection? And then figuring out, how do we make this work, and how do you feel confident about making this investment into yourself? Like even moving forward, like I'm looking at obviously like the FTC and how much they're
Yeah.
looking into the sales industry and how much they're looking into the entire coaching industry now. Like there is more and more governments now looking into our industry. So
Mm-hmm.
like I think something even moving forward for our sales process is actually doing it completely different, where my reps don't even process the payment on the call, and we send a link through an email and they process on their end, where it's taking full ownership for the business owner to take that payment, rather to put their details in, and it's all recorded, and we're not taking like card details or anything anymore, so that if there was any issues, that we can confidently say like the business owner made that decision for themselves. They said yes, they entered in their details. So just like little things like that, that strengthens, I believe, the relationship between the client and the business owner.
Yeah, we do that. We have a finance rep in-house that we route
So
to once the agreement's signed. Yeah. So,
that's good. I'm on the right pathway.
that's definitely a big thing. That some people aren't open to it, but we do have like a full finance playbook where we do, run through the whole 9 yards, and we will, yeah. Which again, it's good for logistics and, having reps, just kind of, the thing is like, I've ran into crazy things with reps. So like, I've had a rep leave and download the customer list before, when he left, and blast it. I've had reps charge people's card, and like, it's like, it's just, so we don't let the reps touch anything with finance. We have it routed over, which it makes the sales process a little stickier, but we do it that way.
Well, it makes sense. Makes sense.
So last topic here. So let's talk about marketing, which is the thing that like I actually wanted to talk to you about. So for me, I had a strong sales background when I was running my marketing agency. I had 15 cold callers, and I was just doing outflow. And then I learned about funnels. And I think the first program I ever bought on Facebook ads was Billy Jeans when he first launched it. And this was a while back. Point being is, though, I didn't really get any results with advertising then. Fast forward, I worked as I don't know the word for it, but I worked with a company called We Run Ads, and I helped them build their sales team. And that was where I really got hands-on experience with ads, was through that experience. And then I linked up with a guy in Hollywood Hills that he came to my house. He's ran ads for Fortune 500 companies. He spent $20 million on his own ads. And that meeting helped me wrap my head around ads. And the one thing I took away from that meeting was this one simple concept. Because after he said everything, I'm like, okay, like, what do I got to do? And how do I structure the campaign to make money? Like, that was my last, I'm like, okay, so just give me I was looking for like a 1, 2, 3 blueprint. But what he said was, well, you see, Nick, like what I do is I set up the different tests with lead forms, messenger, CBO. I set up all the tests. And what I do is I advertise, and then I analyze the results and see what's making money. And I spend more on that and less on the ones that aren't profitable. I'm just like, okay, that makes sense. So I just really got down the concept of testing. And through that, I learned what worked, and I was able to pick up on principles. But fast forward 2 weeks later, I made $70,000 in a week profit for my low ticket funnel, plus another $100,000 on the back end sales. And that was like all right, I think I made it. We're doing something right. Yeah.
I need to come through with my tripwire.
Yeah, the tripwires. So this was in 2018 when I started running tripwires, and it was amazing. I was getting 1,000 new clients a week on the tripwire, and yeah.
Wow.
So point being is, that was a little bit more complicated. What I did before that was very simple. What I did is I set up I'm telling you this because I want to see how aligned we are. The first thing that I ever did with ads was I set up my profile like a grid. And I thought about, if someone came across my page, what objections would they have, or what information would they need to make a decision? And I thought about my page as a grid. And then what I did was I just boosted posts and literally said, DM me the word. And then I had a DM setter, and that was it. That was like how I first started. Super simple.
Wow.
So on your end, and things got complicated. Like now we run 3 different funnels as well. We run a live virtual event funnel, we run Tripwire, and then we run VSL booking. And we kind of have what I would call like a waterfall effect, where people go through the ecosystem. But point being is, with your experience, like, how did you get into ads? Like, what do you find is working for people just getting started? And yeah, this is actually what I've been like waiting to talk about the whole time. Yeah.
So we run a VSL call booking funnel, and then a tripwire. To be honest, I have a unicorn funnel. It was honestly a unicorn. Like, we labeled it the unicorn because it just blew up so quickly. But as you were saying all of that, I will say I tested a lot of things first organically. And that's something that I still do now with my team, is test content organically to see what my audience is best responding to, like hooks and everything, and then putting that on my ads.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so like when we launched Feminine Sales Academy, I had already done a organic launch for it, like the agency. I already did that, and I made 10 sales. I made 100,000 in 1 month for it, just organically. I took that 100,000 and I put it all into ads. So I put it towards ads. I put it towards growing a team. I hired a copywriter, hired media buyers, hired everyone, funnel builders, like everything that I needed to
from day one, you had
like propel, to grow. And like, that was my plan. I'm like, I need to raise capital. And I think so many people that run organic businesses don't think like this. And I wish more people would, because it's like, you have an organic platform, you can use your profits and put it somewhere, or to expand like where you're making money. So because Feminine Sales Academy was kicking off organically, I was like, okay, I'm going to test how I sell it organically first. So I was testing it on my stories, seeing what women were vibing with, what was most of my stories, how many people would reach out, what was the hook that I was using. So like every story that I was doing, I was treating it like an ad. And then I was like,
that's
okay,
really smart. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And then we're like, okay, my secret formula to give to the world is I always build my VSL first. First thing is VSL. We start with that because that's the body of everything. And once we have the VSL dialed in, then we can create the copy for the funnel, the copy for the ads, like everything around that surrounds it. So what we had done was then we created the VSL, one video ad, and then we launched with $3,000. And the video ad was like a micro version of the VSL, and it was only like a 9-minute VSL with animations, with good animations, a really good banner up the top. That's like one of my big things I always got, and then like lots of emojis and things that pop up constantly. And then we launched with $3,000 and made $150K that month.
That's a good ROAS.
It was a unicorn funnel.
Yeah.
Then the next month we spent, I think it was like $6,000 and made $222K. But like I was ruthless. Like I'm a salesperson. Yeah. I was ruthless. I'm like, I'm calling every single one of those leads. Like ain't no one getting away from me. They're going to answer my call. I'm the type of person that will sit on a sales call for 2 hours if I have to close.
We call that make or break. That's what we call it in my company. Yeah.
I'm intense. So I'm like, I'm making this work. Every single person that booked a call, I'm going to find out why you didn't sign up. Like what was the uncertainty? Because that allowed me to optimize the funnel as fast as possible. So I could see all the cracks.
That is key. If you know sales, really sales is the feedback loop to marketing. These are the objections I'm hearing. And then marketing should implement it to pre-handle. So
100%.
You had instant feedback, and that's so it was a VSL funnel. It was to a booking, or did you say that you run it to a tripwire?
Sorry, application to book call. I have a tripwire.
Application. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
So 3,000, 6,000. You basically had a little over 100K. So that's what you did. That it just worked, and it was straight to the VSL. You weren't necessarily running like DM me or DM me ads or anything like that.
Just one ad, and like $1 awareness ad. So like, because we have the Instagram as a strong organic presence, we would just put in like some of the pieces of content from my Instagram that were doing well, that our audience was resonating with, that had the same congruent messaging as like $1, $5 awareness ads. So everyone was seeing all of those pieces of content. Then they were seeing the main ad, and that's all we needed until we kept scaling like ad spend. And then what I started doing was it's a unique mechanism that we spoke about earlier. Like I had to find what was going to work for my audience. So I did like 90 days of testing organically, and I was posting like 4 times, 5 times a day, just throwing out reels after reel after reel, testing to see what my audience really landed with. And they loved Feminine Sales Academy, but Feminine Sales Academy wasn't enough to really like get the messaging right. So then what I found was the inbound sales system. Now, if you asked me a year ago if I'd be talking about an inbound sales system, like that wouldn't have even thought to be a thing. But every time I wrote inbound sales system, people would message me, can I get the inbound sales system? What's the inbound sales system? I'm like, it's just a funnel, but it's just a funnel. And now that's become the thing. And we use that in our ads. And we use the sales part and then the inbound sales system. And we just use my content on our ads, and it works.
That's so amazing. And for anybody watching this right now, this is really gold, because what you did was you surveyed your audience through organic content to see what got responses. And that's where the interest was. And then you took that message and you amplified it with ads. And it wasn't luck it wasn't luck. It was like you did the right steps to figure out what people wanted and what they were, responding to. And did you know that you were doing that from the beginning, or did you realize after?
Well, we had been teaching, like, because I've always taught organic, like we were teaching, it's the reverse, like organic, like strategy. It's like paid ads is great, but it's like you need to have an organic social presence. Like unless you want to just constantly be pouring in for new leads on the front end all the time. So because I already had the organic presence, we've been teaching it, but not to this degree. Like all of a sudden, like we were like, hang on a minute, just as Instagram is doing really, really well, it's generating heaps of comments, heaps of DMs every day. Why are we trying to test ad creatives randomly? We're trying to like write all brand new ads. It's so stupid. Like now that I think about it, I'm like, why were we even doing that? We're trying to write like all these different copy, video ads. And we're like, hang on, it's working over here. My media buyer's like, why don't we just take some of these and let's test to see for them as lead ads? And we just started doing more of that. And it's just saved us heaps of money in testing because they just work.
Yeah, that is the ad that I would say this was my $1 million ad. I've had a couple of them, but like the first funnel that I really launched, I did have $1 million ad, and I was on vacation and I was in Aruba, and I was walking with my phone, and the background was perfect. Everything just was aesthetically pleasing, and it was like a social media post, and I just ran that, and it worked. But sometimes what I found is like I will do things, and I really try hard now to reflect on what my wins were and codify it so that I keep doing it. And that's why I was asking if this was something where you kind of had an idea, which you did. You had an idea of what worked organically, and then your media buyer's like, hey, let's push this. Did you guys add to it, or you just literally boosted it, ran it as an ad?
We didn't boost them. We just take like carousels, for example, and make it as an ad. Like now reels are working really well. I find with like the VSL style video, like CPMs rise really high for it. I know we put a fair bit on those. But reel style ads, like 3 second, 4 second reels, like it doesn't even say much. It's like one hook and it's like me, and there's like me scrolling through like opt-ins or whatever, like all the leads. And I'm just like, look how you can make 200K a month. Like, and it's a 3 second reel. And it worked well organically. We put it up and it works well. And I think Facebook now is favoring more organic style ads. They cost less. And also it's native to where people are scrolling. Like everyone is on Instagram. My mum is on TikTok more than I'm on TikTok, even though she's not my ideal client. But like people are scrolling these platforms. If you can make it look native, you're more than likely going to push more traffic through your funnel or to even your Instagram that way.
Yeah, I could see that. We have both. We have highly produced, and then we have raw. I mean, one of the ads that we have right now that, I mean, I'm just going to say it. We've been running this ad for like a year, and we're getting like $2 opt-ins, which is like very, very, very low. And, like when I last checked for this last month, we still had, it was like 15 ROAS on that ad. And it's working. It's like not highly produced. The intro is very raw, and that's what's working the best. So that makes sense.
I have that too. I have like a long form video. It goes for 8 minutes, and it's me talking about how to do the DMs and how to have conversations with people. And it's just me in a loom, and I'm just talking about it, and we get like $10 book calls from it. And it just like, it has like 78, like just so much social proof, and so many women keep commenting on it. We don't get the best quality, but we've made heaps of sales from it, and it's just like long form content that just worked. Loom video. Who knew?
That is also something that we've been testing as well, which we're testing we call it the Google Doc VSL, but we just throw up the Google Doc, and like we just launched it. Like I just launched a whole new VSL on Sunday with a Google Doc, and it's interesting that people like a Google Doc. I don't know, it feels secret or something. So do you like to go and run your ads? Do you run them to a VSL, or do you run just lead forms as well? Or is it, you have a more of like you're doing it all?
Yeah. We don't run lead forms. We just run straight to the VSL. That way. I have tried like DM ads, but we get really poor quality people come through. I do notice with our like real ads and then our carousel ads, because it looks like Instagram, people bypass the ads and then they'll just go straight to Instagram and they'll send us the code word. Because I always put a code word as the last carousel, and then we can track where people are coming from. So all my code words on my Instagram are completely different to my code words on my ads.
Okay, I see. That's good for tracking. We
Yeah,
use Hyros. But
yeah,
with that being said, let's kind of talk about, okay, so that's what you're doing now. Hopefully you guys got some value from that. If you were working with, the business owner and he's stuck at
yeah.
10K a month, or she's stuck at 10K a month, actually, she's stuck and she's looking to grow her business. What's the,
Mhm.
the 30-foot overview of, what's the roadmap? Like, how do people scale their business?
From 10K a month,
Yep, from
I
10K
think.
a month.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing at 10K a month is getting better at sales.
Mhm.
Really. I think like going from like 10K to like 50K is the biggest thing you need to learn is marketing and sales. How do you market yourself? How do you translate your message to your audience? How do you deliver like the value exchange that you have to give, and getting very good at it, and then learning how to have conversations with people. Like, I think people avoid it and then they don't realize, but it's like sales skills is the number one thing that's going to get you as far as you can in your business. Like, I think people focus on trying to be a good coach too much, and they're like, I need to like create a better program, I need to do this, but it's like you need clients to optimize like your client fulfillment. So biggest thing, learn how to have conversations with people in the DMs, in Messenger, become a setter.
Mhm.
Set your own sales course, and then get really good at having sales conversations. Like, honestly, hands down, like learning sales changed my life. And I know I'll never go broke again. So for anyone that is making money or 10K a month, like, you'll never go broke again if you learn sales.
I agree. I agree. I also think it's something where business owners will try not to learn it. But what I
Yeah.
found is by learning it, it is the
Mm-hmm.
actual way to ensure you never have to do sales again, because you can actually coach people on sales.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but you have to know how to coach them. So you
Yeah.
need to know how to do it, right? So that makes sense.
100%.
Cool. Well, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed this conversation. For everybody, if you want to go ahead and follow Jess, we'll put her information down below, and we'll see you on the other side.